In the headlines of this hour on VTV News, Vietnam's rice exports unlock new record-breaking opportunities. And later on, Ninh Thuan sees increase in budget revenue from renewable energy. And in our world news, U.S. Secretary of State meets with Chinese counterpart in Beijing.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is currently 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning into 30 minutes of VTV News. I'm Lily Lei with the latest updates. Now, on the occasion of the 49th anniversary of the liberation of the South and national reunification on April the 30th, leaders of the party, state, and Vietnam Fatherland Front's Central Committee visited Ho Chi Minh's mausoleum in Hanoi on Friday morning to offer flower wreaths and incense. In attendance were Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính, National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ, Head of the Central Organizing Committee Trương Thị Mai, Acting State President Võ Thị Ánh Xuân, President of the Vietnam Fatherland Front's Central Committee, along with several former leaders of the government, state, and National Assembly. The visiting delegation respectfully expressed their profound gratitude towards President Ho Chi Minh and his great contributions to the revolutionary cause of the party and the nation. Also on Friday morning, party and state leaders visited the monument for heroic martyrs on Bắc Sơn Street to honor the heroes who sacrificed their lives for the independence and freedom of the nation and the people. By the end of this month, it is expected that rice exports will reach approximately 3 million tons, bringing in more than $2 billion, an increase of over 60% from the same period last year. Strengthening product quality and continuing to tap into potential markets have been helping Vietnam's rice industry have more opportunities to set new export records.
This is a batch of high-quality rice being prepared for export to the Ivory Coast and Ghana. This factory also has the opportunity to sign up various new contracts.
This year, Indonesia's demand for Vietnamese rice soared, reaching over 3.6 million tons. Recently, Vietnam secured a bid for approximately 110,000 tons in Indonesia, significantly boosting our rice prices.
In an effort to maintain a financial stability, rice mills are transitioning from long-term contracts to shorter ones, spanning 2 to 3 months. Rice businesses attribute this to the combined effects of El Nino and India's export suspension, which have led to global decrease in rice supply. This situation provides Vietnam with opportunities to increase the value and volume of its rice exports.
Rice prices are poised to be significantly affected by weather conditions and developments among Indian producers. Based on the gathered data, it appears that export rice prices will remain favorable at least through the second quarter of 2024.
In fact, Vietnamese rice prices stand 5 to 10% higher than Thai and Indian varieties, averaging over $650 per ton in the second quarter. By focusing on processing fragrant rice varieties and tapping into niche markets, Vietnam's rice industry is poised for sustained growth and advancement.
Despite challenges in the global commodity and food markets, rice exports still achieved impressive results last year. According to the General Department of Vietnam Customs, in 2023, Vietnam exported over 8 million tons of rice, valued at about $4.67 billion. In addition to traditional markets, the EU recorded good export growth. Notably, last year saw an increase of 14.4% in export output and a 35.3% increase in value over the same period in 2022. The Ministry of Industry and Trade has called on ministries, local branches, association, and traders to seize opportunities to achieve the goal of developing Vietnam's rice export market by 2030, in accordance with the Prime Minister's directive. By August, Vietnam will have its first crop of low-emission rice. Currently, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is coordinating with units and localities in the Mekong Delta to deploy 5 pilot models. At least 250 hectares dedicated to high-quality, low-emission rice cultivation will be deployed continuously over 3 crop seasons: the summer-autumn and autumn-winter of 2024 and the winter-spring of 2025 to 2026. Early next month, the ministry and related agencies will collaborate with the World Bank to finalize the payment mechanism to be submitted to the government. Vietnam has surpassed Japan to become the 5th largest seafood export partner to the Singapore market for the first time. The export turnover of Vietnamese seafood to the Singapore market in the first 3 months of this year reached more than $17.6 million. This represents an increase of more than 3% and accounts for about 8.5% of the seafood market share in Singapore. The strength of Vietnamese seafood lies in frozen fish fillets and processed fish products. Countries ranked above Vietnam include Malaysia, Norway, Indonesia, and China. Removing obstacles to accessing credit capital for the collective economic sector was the focus of a recent workshop in Hanoi. The workshop saw participation from ministries, banks, and representatives of cooperatives from across the country. According to the Vietnam Cooperative Alliance, the number of cooperatives accessing capital is not only too low, but also shows a decreasing trend compared to the same period last year.
Based on the proposal of the parties to increase access to capital for the collective economic sector, the State Bank has launched a lending policy based on effective production and business projects. Vietnamese cooperatives have proposed that the government allow the addition of cooperative banks and people's credit funds to receive support from the Cooperative Development Support Fund to enhance financial capacity.
Cooperatives should be viewed as businesses, but they are special businesses. We lack specific policies despite having laws in decrease. Who is responsible for organizing and implementing them systematically? Currently, there is a requirement for cooperatives to conduct independent audits. What will the cost be and how much support will they receive? If they don't get used to independent audits, they won't be able to access capital sources. Ultimately, the root of the problem is that the cooperative must operate according to its nature.
Decree 45 has created a unified legal corridor and overcome the limitations of funds activities across the country in the past. Therefore, the first solution is to quickly implement this decree.
The bigger problem is that a different mindset is needed for support and problem solving. Instead of maintaining a mindset focused on solving difficulties, there should be a mechanism to promote growth.
The first solution is based on achievements, development results, productions, and business activities. If a cooperative has these, they can access the loan. The second is that cooperatives that keeps up with trends such as digitals, green production, innovation, and creativity must be supported. In addition to policies to help overcome difficulties, there must be policy to gradually upgrade the cooperative to achieve our goals.
Many cooperatives suggest the implementation of a mechanism for mortgage asset from loan capital. If lending, the interest rate will be subsidized for the first 2 to 3 years, and the loan term for agricultural product will be at least 10 years.
For the upcoming April the 30th to May 1st holiday, in addition to preparing travel plans, people should not miss the opportunity to shop for a variety of goods at preferential prices. Distribution systems, supermarkets, and convenience stores across the country have proactively increased their stock while simultaneously implementing promotional programs with discounts of up to 100% to stimulate consumer demand. Our report from Ho Chi Minh City.
On this holiday, so family plans to rest and gather with relatives, increasing the need for shopping, especially for essential items. The discounts offered by supermarket and shopping stores also encourage her to spend more.
There are many promotions, so it can also reduce costs. For example, there is a buy one, get one free offer. This shrimp is also 30% off.
Retailers predict that purchasing power during this holiday seasons will double compared to normal days.
These are festival activities and programs for children. Discounts of over 50% are available on more than 1,000 items.
During a multi-day holiday, we offered huge discounts such as buy one, get one free, and buy two, get one free on essential goods. We focus more on fashion items, travel, drinks, and ice cream.
Ho Chi Minh City industry and trade sector has collaborated with the tourism industry to stimulate tourism demand through consumptions, contributing to extending the length of stay and increasing visitor spending in Ho Chi Minh City.
During the upcoming long holiday, the Department of Industry and Trade will ensure an adequate supply of essential goods for city residents. They will mobilize distribution systems to increase trade promotion activities and boost purchasing power. It is expected that purchasing power in the second quarter will increase by about 10% more than in the first quarter.
Right after the holiday, Ho Chi Minh City will continue to implement the week to promote typical Vietnamese export goods according to Directive 12 of the Prime Minister. This is a great opportunity to increase revenue for various industries.
The Cam Lâm Vĩnh Hảo Expressway officially opened for operation at 7 a.m. on Friday, April the 26th. It was built to accommodate vehicles and serve increased demands during the April 30th to May 1st holiday. Until May 1st, vehicles can travel on the route free of charge. The investor also constructed a temporary rest stop at kilometer 113 on the highway while waiting for investment for the official station. The Cam Lâm Vĩnh Hảo Expressway, spanning over 78 kilometers, passes through the provinces of Khánh Hòa, Ninh Thuận, and Bình Thuận. Some vehicles are not permitted to use the route, including vehicles carrying toxic, flammable substances and explosive materials. Motorbikes, special use motorbikes with design speed of less than 60 kilometers per hour, and tractors. Hanoi Vinh and Nghệ An Ho Chi Minh City Expressways are two major projects to be put into operation in this upcoming holiday of Reunification Day and International Workers' Day. That is the joint efforts of thousands of officials, engineers, and workers over the last 3 years. At the Diễn Châu Bãi Vọt Expressway project, the construction is being urgently completed to meet the operation schedule.
Under the intense heat of 40 degrees Celsius, hundreds of engineers and workers are working effortlessly at the site of Diễn Châu Bãi Vọt project. Their goal is to bring the project into operation on time.
We stay at the construction site, eat here and sleep here, so that we can complete the project on time.
Diễn Châu Bãi Vọt is part of the North-South Expressway project Phase 1. The project includes the largest amount of soft soil treatment and highest bridge construction. So far, the project has completed its major segments, while the rest is following schedule.
We are determined to complete the project. We also bring machinery and equipment to support other units to finish their work on time.
We are determined to complete the project. We also bring machinery and equipment to support other units to finish their work on time.
The project section to Hưng Nguyên, Vinh City will be put into operation 2 days before the holiday. Meanwhile, the Cam Lâm Vĩnh Hảo project will open to traffic on Friday.
We have mobilized all units, contractors, supervision consultants, and investors to finish the project on time on April 28th.
Following Phase 1 of the North-South Expressway project, Phase 2 also needs to come together quickly. Some project sections are expected to be open to traffic 3 to 6 months ahead of schedule.
Before I move on, let's have a look at the exchange rate between the Vietnam Dong and some world currencies in today's market. Coming up next on VTV News. Ninh Thuận sees increase in budget revenue from renewable energy. And later on, Hanoi listed among top 100 smart cities globally. Welcome back to VTV News. Now on Friday, the area of intense heat will expand in the northern region, including both the northwest and the Delta region. Forecasts for the northwest and the northern Delta region, including Hanoi, predict the highest average temperature to range between 35 to 37 degrees Celsius, with some places experiencing particularly intense heat above 39 degrees Celsius. In the central region spanning from Thanh Hóa to Phú Yên and throughout the Central Highlands and southern region, intense heat will persist with especially high temperatures reaching over 39 degrees Celsius. The area of heat is expected to expand and last longer during the long holiday. In the south-central region, prolonged heat has led to a rapid decline in water levels in ponds and lakes within Ninh Thuận province. Local residents are actively implementing various measures to combat the drought, focusing on preserving water for perennial crops and providing drinking water for livestock. The situation is particularly evident in Phước Nam Commune, Thuận Nam District.
Tam Lang village boasts more than 25 hectares of agricultural land where residents have constructed 30 water-shorted ponds to support production needs. Farmers have halted summer-autumn rice cultivation to conserve water for perennial crops and livestock.
We are putting our best efforts into farming and animal husbandry. The weather these days is a bit too hot.
Last year's Bầu Ngữ Dam still had water, but this year it has completely dried up. So we're considering renting a machine to dig ponds to store water for living and raising livestock.
At present, the water volume of Tân Giang Lake is less than 15% of its desired capacity. Consequently, numerous farmers have opted to prune old vineyards, apple trees, and green asparagus to conserve water.
The dry season continues to persist across short-term crop areas. We urge everyone to use water resources prudently during this time.
With nearly 13,000 hectares of perennial trees and more than 300,000 cattle, Ninh Thuận province continues to mobilize people to dig ponds for water shortage. They are also utilizing agricultural byproducts and guiding people to move livestock to areas with convenient access to food and water to limit damage caused by drought.
Ninh Thuận has long pursued a strategy of turning challenges into opportunities, particularly in attracting renewable and clean energy projects. Supported by mechanisms such as Resolution 55 from the Politburo and Resolution 115 from the government, the province has transformed its water-scarce, saline-affected, and unused lands into lucrative energy ventures, generating millions of US dollars in local budget revenue.
The Quán Thể area in Phước Minh Commune, Thuận Nam District, was once marred by abandoned land due to water scarcity and salinity. However, it has been revitalized into energy hubs, hosting solar and wind power projects.
Previously, living here was tough. Whenever it rained, the dirt roads became impassable, covering our vehicles in mud and sand. However, the past 2 years of road construction have transformed our surroundings into something beautiful and clean.
In Ninh Thuận province, 46 renewable energy projects, including solar and wind power, have been put into operation, providing an average commercial electricity output of over 7 billion kilowatt per year.
The implementation of renewable energy projects has a very positive impact on people's lives, especially on project areas. Previously, these areas were agricultural lands characterized by a lack of irrigation, fallow fields, and saline conditions.
The arid, deserted, and saline lands of Ninh Thuận previously had a production value of more than $394 per year per hectare, but now it has skyrocketed to more than $115,000 per year.
Ninh Thuan aims that by 2030, energy and renewable energy will account for 12% of total GRDP products and become the country's renewable energy center.
Recently, the People's Committee of Ninh Thuan Province approved a list of 9 priority energy and renewable energy projects calling for investment. Ninh Thuan Province strives to reach a cumulative capacity of 6,400 megawatts by 2025. This is expected to contribute to ensuring national energy security and create conditions to support and promote the province's socio-economic development.
International arrivals to Vietnam reached 4.6 million in the first quarter of this year. That is an increase of 72% compared to the same period last year, and a 3.2% increase compared to the pre-pandemic figure. However, there is a paradox that travel agencies are facing a decrease in the number of customers despite an increasing number of international arrivals. More to follow.
This is the first time Yoka and her family have traveled to Hanoi. Despite this, she decided to plan the trip herself.
Well, my company is also active in Vietnam, so I could talk to my colleagues who told me about your wonderful country, the great food, and also the very kind people. We have been looking on TripAdvisor on things to see in Vietnam, and then we took a look at the Lonely Planet. It's very nice to discover by yourself. It's also a very safe city.
The trend of self-sufficient travel is on the rise. Consequently, despite the sharp increase in the number of international arrivals, Vietnamese travel agencies are not getting many visitors. 2 other major reasons for this trend are the rise of online travel platforms and weak connectivity in domestic tourism services.
Vietnamese travel businesses are having to compete at an advantage with online travel agents. These online sites allows customers to connect directly with service providers.
It is necessary that aviation, travel agencies and destinations build a close linkage. Additionally, our stimulating program cannot lower the high costs of package tours due to the high prices of air tickets. Many destinations even charge tourists higher fees.
Consequently, travel businesses are implementing new methods to deal with these challenges.
We are designing new tours to enhance visitors' experience with personalization. We open new road trips along tours and travel by trains and cars. Train tickets cost only half of those of air tickets. Visitors can also enjoy the scenic views from the train.
Vietnam's tourism industry has set a target to welcome 17 to 18 million foreign visitors this year, approaching the pre-pandemic record. Positive results in the first quarter is an encouragement for the tourism industry. Yet, it also puts large pressures on travel businesses to improve their products.
Hanoi is ranked 97th in the 2024 list of the world's leading smart cities, as announced by the International Institute for Management Development (IMD) in collaboration with the World Smart Sustainable Cities Organization, or WeGo. IMD defines smart cities as urban environments that apply technology to maximize the benefits and minimize the shortcomings of urbanization for residents. In addition to Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City also appears on the list, ranking at 105th position. Coming up next in our world news. U.S. Secretary of State meets with Chinese counterpart in Beijing. And later on, unprecedented extreme heat sweeps across Asia. Now moving on to our world news, on Friday, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi held talks with his U.S. counterpart Antony Blinken, who is visiting Beijing, China. Minister Wang Yi said that the relationship between the world's 2 leading economies is beginning to stabilize after the summit between Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden in San Francisco, USA last year. However, negative factors still appear and are increasing. He called on the 2 countries to resolve disagreements as well as risks affecting bilateral relations. For his part, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken hopes the two sides will make progress on the issues that President Joe Biden and President Xi Jinping have agreed on, such as resuming anti-drug cooperation, restarting military dialogue, and working together toward the future of artificial intelligence. He emphasized that active and direct diplomacy is irreplaceable to ensure that the two sides can understand each other's views on different issues, thereby avoiding misunderstandings and miscalculations.
Looking together at the future of artificial intelligence.
Unexpected developments in U.S. economic growth in the first quarter negatively impacted the U.S. stock market. By the end of Friday morning's trading session, Vietnam time, all three main indexes had dropped sharply. This negative trend in the U.S. stock market began after the announcement of the U.S.'s first quarter economic growth data early in the morning. At the end of the session, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ indexes had recovered slightly but were still in the red. The Dow Jones index had fallen sharply, closing at nearly 38,086 points, after falling nearly 1%. According to experts, the latest data on U.S. economic growth and inflation are the main factors leading to negative developments in the stock market. Meanwhile, an important inflation variable for the U.S. Federal Reserve Fed is the Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index, which increased to 3.4% in the first quarter, the highest level in the past year. Some pessimistic views suggest that the U.S. economy may experience stagflation. That is due to inflation being more persistent than anticipated and potential delays in the Fed's plans to reduce interest rates. No longer mere warnings, the negative impacts of climate change are becoming increasingly evident, escalating in speed and severity. One such impact is the unusually high temperature, surpassing human tolerance. Even though summer has just begun, many parts of Asia, particularly Southeast Asia, are already experiencing extreme heat. This forecasts a harsh summer ahead, with potential new temperature records.
On Thursday, Thai authorities issued a heat warning for the capital, Bangkok, urging people to stay indoors for their safety. The forecast predicts that temperatures in Bangkok will reach 39 degrees Celsius, with the heat index potentially exceeding 52 degrees Celsius, a level considered extremely dangerous. Previously, the temperatures in Lampang province in the north of Thailand reached 44.6 degrees Celsius on April 22nd. Since the beginning of the year, at least 30 people have died from heat stroke. April is typically the hottest and the most humid time of the year in Thailand, but due to the El Nino weather patterns, this year conditions are more extreme. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, from the beginning of the year until April 18, the country recorded at least 34 cases of heat-related illnesses, including 6 deaths. The Philippine Weather Agency issued a warning about a dangerous heat index with temperatures exceeding 42 degrees Celsius. Consequently, many areas, including the capital, Manila, decided to suspend in-person classes. Temperatures are forecast to reach up to 51 degrees Celsius in some areas of the Philippines, and the hot weather is expected to persist until next month. This is an image taken on Thursday in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Hundreds of people gathered to pray for rain amidst the extreme heat engulfing the South Asian countries, forcing authorities to close schools nationwide.
We gathered here to pray for rain to end the drought. Students, teachers, and local people pray together. In the past 5, 6, or even 10 years, such scorching heat has never occurred, but now the heat is unbearable.
Many rain praying ceremonies of similar scales are also held in other localities in Bangladesh. Temperatures across the country last week exceeded 42 degrees Celsius. In particular, the temperature in the capital, Dhaka, was 4 to 5 degrees Celsius higher than the average for the same period over the last 30 years. According to weather experts, April is usually the hottest month in Bangladesh, but this April was one of the hottest since 1971.
Up next, let's have a look at the weather forecast. And that is all that we have for this hour on VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can visit our channel or download a mobile app VTVgo for more. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.